Elite Facts presents
7 more urban legends.
7.
Greek soldier. This lesser-known legend tells of a Greek soldier who, after World War II, was returning home to marry his fiancée. Unfortunately for him, he was captured by fellow Greeks who had hostile political beliefs, tortured for 5 weeks, and finally, eventually, murdered. In the early 1950s, mainly in North and Central Greece, there were stories about a very attractive Greek soldier in uniform who appeared and disappeared overnight, seducing beautiful widows and virgin girls with the sole purpose of impregnating them. 5 weeks after the babies were born, the man would disappear for good, leaving a letter on the table explaining that he had returned from the dead merely to spread his seed so that his sons might avenge his murder.
6.
The Black Volga. A Black Volga automobile was supposedly spotted frequently in the streets of Warsaw back in the 1960s, packed with kidnappers who were hell-bent on snatching up children on the streets. According to the legend, with the help of Western propaganda spreading more rumors and myths in regards to this vehicle, it is said that it was high-ranking Soviet officials who drove the Black Volga in Moscow during the mid-1930s, kidnapping young girls for their higher-ranking Soviet comrades. Another version of this legend tells us that vampires, mysterious priests, Satanists, body vendors, and even Satan himself drove the Black Volga car. Another version of this legend states that children were kidnapped with the intention of using their blood as a cure for rich leukemia sufferers around the world. However, because this is a legend, none of these versions have been confirmed.
5.
Zanfreda alien abduction. It's pretty safe to say that Fortunato Zanfreda's abduction story has become one of the most famous urban legends in Italy over the last few decades. According to his own accounts in regards to the incident at hand, Zanfreda was abducted by aliens. Apparently, these aliens were called Dragos from the planet Titonia. Zanfreda states that he alone has experienced repeated abductions by the same group over a 3-year period between 1978 to 1981. As creepy as this report may sound, it seems like we can paint a more optimistic picture of the intentions of these visitors when we consider the words of Zanfreda during one hypnosis section. Quote, "I know you are trying to come more frequently. No, you can't come to Earth. People get scared if they look at you. You can't make friendship. Please go." So if these abductions are in fact legitimate, it's fairly safe to assume that these creatures from another world only look for friendship rather than wanting to enslave us. Hey, don't give us that look. We're just going off of what Zanfreda said. We're not just jumping to random conclusions here. Anyway, Zanfreda has probably given more details about his alien abduction than any other person in history. His detailed accounts may cause even the most vehement skeptic to pause for thought. To this day, the Zanfreda case remains one of the most curious and fascinating alien abduction stories from around the world.
4.
Creepy clown statue. So let's get this one out of the way. Clowns are creepy. I think a good portion of us can agree on that, what with calrophobia being a common fear among people. Well, this story is sure to send chills down anyone's spine. This popular story claims that a babysitter was watching some kids get creeped out by one of their stuffed clown toys. Because it was so unsettling, she called up the kids' parents to ask if she could cover up the creepy-looking clown doll. To the father's shock, he quickly told the babysitter to grab the kids and flee the house. Now, was he scared? Well, it turns out the family didn't own a clown doll. Now, sure, that doesn't sound terrifying, but as it turns out, the kids had recently complained that they were being watched at night by a clown. Now, the story doesn't say what the clown's purpose is at all, but if it's spying over kids at night, then trust me, it can't have good intentions.
3.
The corpse-caked train. Here's an obscure one for you. The corpse-cake train is kind of gruesome. The story centers around a high-speed train engineer as he feels a slight bump as he's zooming down the tracks, but a quick check out the front window doesn't reveal anything out of the ordinary. The story of this myth states that as a high-speed HGV train pulled into a railway station in France and awaited passengers, they were greeted with something that looked like it was straight out of a Thomas the Tank Engine film. If it was directed by Wes Craven and H.R. Geiger, that is. It was that the front of the train was literally covered in blood and body parts. Definitely something you don't want to see on your morning commute to work. It makes you wonder how a story like this hasn't inspired some up-and-coming horror writers out there to create a film based off of it. Actually, never mind. If they did, the film would most likely go direct to DVD. But the point still stands.
2.
The Ax Wielding Bunny Man. Okay, this one is more of a localized myth, unlike the rest, which have more of a worldwide appeal. If you grew up around the Washington, D.C. area, there's a good chance your mom had to wash many a bedsheet thanks to a prime real-life example, the Bunny Man. According to local legend, so there's no concrete evidence of his existence, then again, all you'll need to do is buy a bunny mask and carry an axe around to make the legend come to life, I guess. There's a man in a white bunny suit wandering the countryside near D.C. It's said that this individual can be seen wielding a big bloody axe, and he's itching to find his next victim. Not exactly the greatest myth, but it's still something terrifying to think about.
1,
Man-eating escalators. As a kid, escalators can be quite scary, whether it's falling down them or getting your shoelace caught in between the steps that would cause you to trip up. They can be pretty scary in that sense. Well, most kids don't think about tripping. Let's be honest, most of us thought that the escalator would just chew us up when we were at a young age. I mean, we're pretty sure most everyone had parents that would tell outrageous stories in order to make sure we stayed safe. Remember to tie your shoelaces. You don't want to end up like Billy down the street who tripped on his laces and smashed his head into a lamppost. Or you don't want to end up like that boy 2 towns over whose shoelace got stuck in the escalator at the mall. They're still trying to glue his toes to his feet. Well, according to nationally certified escalator safety inspector Kevin Doherty, these stories and myths shouldn't be taken lightly because according to him, once the escalator has your shoelace, it doesn't end well at all. Quote, "It's unbelievable what an escalator can do to human flesh." According to him, toes and entire pieces of feet have been chewed off by escalators. And if the victim reaches down to try to free himself from the human paper shredder, that's when things can go from bad to worse. For instance, in 2003, a girl lost part of her hand when she reached down to free her shoe, which the escalator was in the process of eating. In 2005, a 34-year-old cook made the mistake of wearing a hood on an escalator. Nobody's sure if he was reaching down to free a shoelace or seated when the escalator got hold of his hood, because by the time they found him, the escalator had sucked his hood into its comb plate, dragging him to the ground and strangling him to death. My advice would be to take the elevator.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more elite facts.